It starts from the moment someone purchases from you, the instant where they make a commitment to you and your brand or the products you sell. That moment starts to define the experience they're having with whatever you sell. And if you do everything that your competitors do, if you just deliver the product just like everybody else would deliver the product, you're not really creating a unique experience. And what I started to realize was that the more unique the loyalty loop experience is and the micro moments you create from that moment of commitment all the way through triggering new purchases, which is either creating a moment of inspiration in the mind of your customer that had you and realize they need to buy something else from you, or maybe it's a trigger that's set at a moment of inspiration that happens when someone else says, I need to solve the same problem that you solve, your company, and they say, oh, I know exactly what you need. You basically circumvent the way everybody else searches the internet and looks for products and services by creating this never-ending loop of new customers and referrals when you have a unique experience from that moment of commitment on.
So you're a smart business committed to innovation, to service and to modern marketing, and you're asking, what's next? Wondering how you can become even more innovative. My name is Jürgen Strauss from InnovaBuzz, and this is the InnovaBuzz podcast, where we share all kinds of tips, advice and interview guests on all things innovation and leadership in modern marketing. Hi innovators, it's great to be back. I hope you've had an awesome week so far. I'm really excited to have on the InnovaBuzz podcast as my guest today, Andrew Davis, who's a best-selling author and internationally acclaimed keynote speaker and producer of The Loyalty Loop, a weekly video blog that discusses marketing from the point of view of unique customer experiences. Andrew and I had a lot of fun discussing things like the importance of building a real relationship with your customers in today's world of technology and automation, about building customer loyalty through providing unique experiences, and about moments of inspiration that shape the customer experience, with a personal example from Andrew when his car lease expired. Without further ado then, let's fly into the hive and get the buzz from Andrew Davis. Hi, I'm your host Jürgen Strauss from InnovaBuzz, and I'm really excited to welcome to the InnovaBuzz podcast today from Boca Raton in Florida, Andrew Davis, who's a best-selling author and internationally acclaimed keynote speaker, and he's the producer of The Loyalty Loop, which is a weekly video blog that I'll explore a little bit more. He's an author of a couple of books called Brandscaping and the second one, Town Inc. So welcome to the podcast, Andrew. It's a privilege to have you here as a guest.
Yeah, thanks, Jürgen. I'm so glad to be on. This is fun.
Yeah, should be fun. We're really looking forward to it. Now, Jay Akunzo, who was on episode 118, introduced me to Andrew and suggested we interview him on the podcast. So big hello to Jay.
Hey, Jay. Yeah, he's awesome. His book comes out this fall, Break the Wheel. So, yes, it's going to be good. I've been following him as he writes it, and it's been really, really great to see. He's a talented guy.
Yeah, I saw an email from him this morning about the book, so looking forward to that.
Yeah. He's taken a really cool approach to even marketing the book, which is exactly what you would expect from a guy with a title like Break the Wheel.
Yeah. All right. Now, Andrew, you teach business leaders how to grow their business, transform their cities and leave their legacy. And you're on a mission to change how publishers think and marketers market. And I think you're really living that mission. So I'm really excited to explore that some more. But before we get on to marketing and branding and entrepreneurship, let's find out a little bit more about your background. So when you were a young child, what did you want to do when you grew up?
When I was a kid, I actually wanted to be a movie star. And so I thought, Hollywood was in my future. And, I don't know why, but I was a big Shirley Temple fan when I was a kid.
Yeah, me too.
She was amazing. Yeah. And I had read a lot of books about her. And I remember at one point she was the richest person in the world.
Wow.
And she was only like 13, And so I was measuring my success against Shirley Temple's. And, by the time I was 16 or 17, I started to realize that maybe I'm not a great actor, although I enjoyed it. Maybe I should focus on being behind the camera. So I got more interested in being in the television and film business, but not necessarily in front of the camera. Mm-hmm. So I actually lived in South Africa at the time. So I did some television commercials as a kid. I did a commercial for Cadbury's drinking chocolate, which must be popular where you are.
Oh yeah, absolutely. In fact, one of my mentors and former guests, Troy Dean, did a jingle that's very famous here for Cadbury's.
Oh, no kidding. See, all your best guests and mentors are Cadbury's fans and talent. Yeah. And I did like a Piatt's Biscuits, which is like a tea biscuit commercial. I did Plascon Paints, all sorts of kind of television advertisements. But I'm just good at making funny facial expressions. It turns out I'm not really a good actor. So if you're looking for a goofy commercial, I'm good at that.
Yeah. Well, I certainly noticed the facial expressions on the loyalty loop videos that you do.
Thanks.
Quite entertaining. So,
I try.
So where did so you said you went behind the camera, so I know you did a little bit of work with some quite famous brands. How did that work out?
Yeah, well, so I actually went to Boston University to study television and film, and then when I graduated, I started working in public affairs programming. That's what they call it in the U.S. anyway, but it's basically news programming, kind of style programming, and that was lots of fun. But essentially, I worked for NBC, the Today Show, on the weekends, and then during the week, I would produce segments for them, write for the TV show. I worked for a guy named Charles Kuralt, he's a very kind of quintessential American television storyteller, and he hosted a show called CBS Sunday Morning, and he had this show called An American Moment, and he was actually a tremendous storyteller. I mean, really understood the art of telling a really emotional and uplifting and, genuine American story. So I learned a lot from him and wrote a chapter, actually 2 chapters in his book, An American Moment. And then I actually landed my dream job in the late 1990s. I worked for the Jim Henson Company, which is the Muppets. Mm-hmm. And so Jim Henson had died in 1990, so I didn't get to meet him, but I was working with his son, Brian Henson, and a bunch of the original Muppeteers, people that had been in the company for 30 years. And I helped them produce a show called Bear in the Big Blue House, and some pretty bad movies, actually. Elmo and Grouchland, which was terrible. Let's see, what was the pirate one we did? See, I've blocked them all out. I did Muppets from Space, which was not a very good movie at all. But I actually learned a ton at the Jim Henson Company about marketing, and this was by the time, by the late 90s, essentially the Jim Henson Company was struggling a little bit, and the marketing world, especially the new startup world, was taking off. So I actually left and followed a bunch of my friends, left the television world where it was hard to make money, and started marketing where, I had a friend who was making 4 times as much as me when I was working at the Jim Henson Company, and he had left the television business to work in marketing. And I said, "What do you do?" And he's like, "I don't really know, but you should try it." So I did what he did. I left the television world and started to apply what I had learned in television to marketing, and I really enjoyed it. It's been a really fun kind of transition.
Mm. So tell us a little bit about what you do today and why you do it.
Yeah, I built a digital marketing agency with a founder of mine, Jim Costco, who's a journalist, by the way. So neither of us had any agency experience. We sold the agency in 2012, and so today, since 2012, I've just been writing books like Brandscaping and Town Inc. And I spend most of my time traveling around the world speaking to audiences, about marketing. And the audiences are really diverse. 1 week it'll be people who install, bathroom fittings. And the next week it'll be, marketers at a Fortune 500 company, or small business owners, with American Express. So it's a lot of fun. It's a very diverse audience, and I get to see a lot of the world. It's been great.
Sounds terrific. So
yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit then, because I know, with the loyalty loop, you talk a lot about how businesses stand out, serve their audience, and you talk about micro moments that are critical in shaping the brand and shaping the customer's experience of the brand.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually working on the book for the loyalty loop, which has been lots of fun, and I've been really working on it for the past 3 years. And the loyalty loop is essentially, it starts from the moment someone purchases from you. So no matter what you sell, the instant where they make a commitment to you and your brand or the products you sell, that moment starts to define the experience they're having with whatever you sell. And if you do everything that your competitors do, if you just deliver the product just like everybody else would deliver the product, you're not really creating a unique experience. And what I started to realize was that the more unique the loyalty loop experience is and the micro moments you create from that moment of commitment all the way through triggering new purchases, which is either creating a moment of inspiration in the mind of your customer that had you and realize they need to buy something else from you, or maybe it's a trigger that's set at a moment of inspiration that happens when someone else says, I need to solve the same problem that you solve, your company, and they say, I know exactly what you need. You basically circumvent the way everybody else searches the internet and looks for products and services by creating this never-ending loop of new customers and referrals when you have a unique experience from that moment of commitment on. So the loyalty loop is all about finding those little moments and really making them unique. And a lot of times that means either slowing down the customer process, or it means, just doing one simple thing just a little bit different than you did yesterday. And the people that are most successful in changing that experience just change one small thing with the next customer that they acquire, and they all of a sudden have a new experience that people really, find resonates.
That's really fascinating, and you've got some fantastic examples. I mean, I think you did, this might have been the first loyalty loop video. You talked about Mercedes and the mistake they made in terms, and I noticed in one of the latest videos you did that you're not driving a Mercedes anymore.
Well, it was a big mistake. Yeah, so I mean, the Mercedes example is a really good one, and for those of you listening, basically, I'm a person who leases cars, so I haven't bought a car in about 10 years. I just lease one every 3 years. I get a new car, and I actually enjoy that. And Mercedes, I leased a Mercedes last time, and I was sitting at the kitchen countertop opening my mail one day, and I got a letter from Mercedes that said your lease is expiring in the next 30 days, and here's a checklist of things you need to do to return your Mercedes. And any good marketer that's listening right now would say to themselves immediately, well, wait a second, what did they do to try to sell you the next Mercedes, right?
Yeah.
They did nothing, Jürgen. They essentially sent me on this journey. So that's a moment of inspiration. In that minute, to be honest, I had forgot I need to return this car. So as soon as I get this letter, I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot. I've got 30 days to buy a new car. And Mercedes, yes, is the first brand that comes to my mind. But everybody knows that when you're in the search for a new car, you start looking at every other car on the road as a new potential car. And next thing you know, Mercedes is competing with a bunch of cars that I just saw driving down the road. And instead, what they should have done, and the mistake they made was, why didn't they just make it very easy for me to get into a brand new Mercedes? A simple change in that loyalty loop process, instead of saying here's your checklist of stuff, they could have said, hey, look, here's a checklist of stuff that most people have to go through when they're returning their vehicle, but because you're a valued Mercedes customer, why don't you just come in tomorrow and we will put you in a brand new car, the exact same car you have, for the exact same payment every single month, and you don't have to deal with any of that. And you know what? I would be in another Mercedes if they had just removed the friction. Removing friction is one of those keys to making the loyalty loop work. And instead, what did I do? Well, my wife and I started looking at cars on the road, and 30 days later, we returned the Mercedes, and we're now in a BMW.
Yeah.
And it's, in fact, by the way, Jürgen, I should tell you, the car I leased before the Mercedes was a Nissan Murano. And just a few weeks ago, I got a text message from the guy who sold me the Nissan 6 years ago And it was a lease. Remember, a lease is up in 3 years. And he text messaged me saying, hey, Andrew, hope you're doing well. I'm so excited to talk to you about your Nissan Murano. How's it going? And I was like, I texted him back. I said, Miguel, are you kidding me? Like, I haven't owned a Nissan in 3 years. You know, what's up? And he never responded, by the way. So, like, it doesn't take much as a marketer these days. There's so much technology that you can just blurt out crap at your consumers. And you just have to remember, it makes you look stupid. If you really want to build a loyalty loop experience and build a real relationship with the customer and really make an impact so that it actually drives revenue, you have to take the time to figure out how that experience is going to be unique and what you can do to help make it better. So one of the lessons from that Mercedes story is remove the friction. Make it easy for me to be your customer over and over again. Why would you have me go through that process if you just know I'm going to get into a new lease?
Yeah, that's a great story. I really like that story. And you said something there that I think is a crux. I mean, I point that out all the time with technology. As you say, it is so easy to automate things and so on, but fundamentally, you know, it's still the same old thing that you did before technology that's important, and that's building the relationship with the customer. And
yeah, absolutely. And today, I think more than ever, because especially with email and text messaging, those are very interpersonal communication mediums. And when you just, you know, flood my phone with text messages that are meaningless, you destroy your credibility, and, you know, you start to feel like you're spamming me, even though you may not. But you know, all it would have taken is 2 seconds for Miguel to look up my record. I mean, they all have a database sitting in front of there from Nissan Finance, and they can tell whether I'm still in a Nissan. So instead, if he had just messaged me and say, hey, I know you're not in a Nissan anymore, but it's been 6 years. Are you interested in a Nissan again? That's a better conversation than, hey, how's your Nissan? It just makes you look like a moron. So use those mediums really well, and you'll build a customer for life. You'll build the right kind of relationship. You're right.
Yeah, and the other part of that is, I think you mentioned it in the Mercedes video example, or the video of that Mercedes example, that they hadn't been in touch with you at all, or hardly ever, through that 3 years. So the first contact they make for you is this kind of barrier to changing over.
Exactly. They did nothing. And you know what's even funnier is one of my friends who he happens to actually be a part owner in a Mercedes dealership. He sent the email to his Mercedes, sales team and said, hey guys, you should check this out. And they checked it out, and then they emailed me and said, like, hey, watch your video. Is there anything we can do to get you into a Mercedes? And at this point, I wasn't buying a BMW yet. I was in the market for it, but that was it. And I was like, yeah, there is. Like, do you want to chat? And I never heard back. Honestly, it's not that hard to sell to someone that actually wants to be sold. And, I know a lot of people might be listening to this thinking this is a one-off, but if you have a sales team or you work with sales people, this stuff happens all the time. And unless you're defining the kind of experience you want to deliver, and I'm not talking about like writing a script and making sure that your salesperson sticks to it. I'm saying even at a very high level, helping them understand what makes you different and your brand different, so that they instill that in every conversation, that makes a big difference. And, even as a speaker, I have a very small team that helps me book my speaking gigs all over the world. And one of the people's a salesperson, and one of them's an operational person that helps me do all the logistics. And both of those people know that at the top of my list for the kind of experience I want to deliver with my clients is responsiveness. We need to be the most responsive and helpful, person on an event as possible. And so that means even if I can't do a speaking gig, I want my sales guy to try to find someone who will do that speaking gig. That means if somebody inquires about a speaking gig, that we get back to them within an hour, not within 3 days or 24 hours. But as soon as we see that, we pick up the phone and make a phone call. And by the way, making a phone call today, Jürgen, is a differentiated experience. So pick up the phone, and all of a sudden you're creating an experience that is a little different than everybody else's.
Yeah. Sometimes I kind of think, that little computer you have in your pocket that you use to take photos and check Facebook and things. Did you know you can use it to make phone calls?
It's so true. I have a friend who just recently relayed a story to me that they went to a vacation home, for the summer vacation, and she took her 17-year-old daughter, and in the house they had a rotary phone that was attached to the wall.
Yeah.
And the daughter had seen pictures of a rotary phone before, but what was even funnier is the phone was still, attached to the phone service. So when she picked up the phone, she asked her mother what that sound is, and her mom was like, what sound? Like, that's the phone sound. And someone at 18 had never heard that dial tone sound. And it just dawned on me that, the world we live in today is really evolving fast. But at the end of the day, as everybody else is trying to adopt new technology and move so rapidly towards automation, those things are wonderful. But sometimes just going back to some of the very simple tools that work, like picking up the phone and making a personal phone call that isn't automated and recorded, and a chat bot, and all of a sudden can feel very refreshing to the consumer on the other side. And I can't tell you how many I've made those calls where a request comes in at 4 a.m, and I'm an early riser, and it'll be someone from Asia or from Europe, and I know that Ryan, my sales guy, isn't going to be awake. Well, so what do? I pick up the phone and make that phone call, and sometimes these people are shocked. They're like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you're calling!" And it's so nice and refreshing. I filled out 7 forms this morning, and I've got 19 automated emails, but no one's actually called me. And so, it's very refreshing, and we shouldn't forget that experience is very important no matter what we sell.
Yeah. It comes back a little bit to the culture of the organization, doesn't it? Sort of.
Oh,
what's important in the organization, and making sure everybody's aligned with that and understand the behaviors expected, or how they deliver that experience.
That's so true. It's very easy to do that. So there's a guy I met. He's from Tulsa, Oklahoma, which, if you don't know where it is, it's just in the middle of the United States. And, he basically sells doors and window and siding for your house. He's a contractor and does work on your home. And he had just started up his business. And so he was discounting his price to get the first few clients. And he thought, I'll do a good job on these first few clients, maybe even at a loss to my business, but I'll get some referrals and that'll jumpstart my business. Well, he was getting referrals, but not enough. And a lot of people were referring him because of the price. So they would say, you've got to work with this guy. The company's name is Tulsa Renew, by the way. And they'd say, you got to work with Tulsa Renew. Steven's a great guy. But guess what? He's cheaper than everybody else. So what happened? The referrals he got all expected him to be cheap. Yeah. Now, this isn't a good business model for him. So what he realized was, he decided, and this is the core value statement he wrote, and he started teaching all his employees this very simple phrase. He said, look, at Tulsa Renew, we believe that you should know what's going on at your house anytime we're on the job, even when you're not at home. That's it. And so he taught everybody this. And the way he started to execute this from a customer experience standpoint was amazing. What he would do is at 1 o'clock or noon on every one of the job sites he was working on, even when the people were at work, he would shoot a little video using his iPhone. And he used an app that was meant for golf coaches, that would slow down your golf swing. It's called Coach's Eye. And he would use this little app to shoot the video about the person's house and their construction. Just a short thing. It's like 2 minutes long at the most. Then he'd upload it to YouTube as a private listed video, and he'd email the link to his clients at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, he picked 2 o'clock in the afternoon very purposely because it's late enough in the day that they've made some progress, yes. But number two, this is when people are coming back from lunch. They're sitting in their cubicle. They're going through their email. And they're kind of in that lunch days phase where they're just getting back to work. And so he would send these emails, and here's what happens. When you get that email with a video of what's happening on your house today, what do? You watch the video, and then you say to your coworker, like, hey, Jennifer, you got to check this out. You got to see what my contractor Steven's doing. And they come over, and they're like, this is what happens. They say, oh my gosh, your contractor sends you a video? Yes, he sends me a video every day he's on the job. Who's your contractor? and they say Stephen Jones from Tulsa Renew. So for every one of those videos that Stephen sends out on the first day he's on the job, he gets 11 referrals and he closes 7 of them.
Mm-hmm.
This guy needs no marketing. Why? Because his loyalty loop is just that. It's very clear. We tell you what's going on your house every day we're on the job, no matter where, no matter what. And everybody knows how to refer them because they send the video and they say exactly that. The other kicker, by the way, Jürgen, is he's 25% more than any other provider in the marketplace. And he's expanded into a bunch of cities, including London, by the way. He just opened London Renew.
Wow.
His business is massively successful, and it's all because he knows that his loyalty loop drives his business.
Yeah, that's a great story. And it's such a little thing, isn't it? The thing that made the difference.
That's it. The loyalty loop changes, the ones that really stick. It tends to be that they're very simple things. Like a friend of mine, Richard Yu, he's actually a high school friend of mine. He founded Rackspace, which at one point was the world's largest hosting company. It's still like number 3, I think, in the world. But they're known for their fanatical support. That's what they market under, and that's kind of what they've become known for. And they do provide amazing support by anyone's account. And when I ran an agency, Rackspace, we were a Rackspace client, not just because Richard was a friend, but because they provided amazing support. And the truth is, they don't have to do much to provide amazing support. In fact, Richard has told me that the best marketing they have is actually, and the best clients they have are the clients who leave to get crappy support and then come back because they now understand how great the support was. And basically, Richard used to say his biggest liability was first-time hosting clients because they've never experienced a bad hosting company or bad support. And so they don't know that the barrier to entry is so high once you've experienced Rackspace. And Rackspace just does simple things like they don't monitor how long their support calls are. So if you want to spend 28 hours on the phone with the tech support people at Rackspace, they will do it. And no one's ever gets in trouble for it. And they encourage you to spend the time on the phone. Richard's told me stories about people that just call at, Tuesdays at 3:00, even when they don't have a problem. But that's the tech support guy that they've become friends with. And they just want to chat. And that breeds customer loyalty. So it doesn't have to be a complicated customer experience. Just keep it simple, but do it better and differently than everybody else.
Yeah. There's a lot of great lessons in that. And again, it's the thing that makes the difference that can be just a little thing. Really good. Yeah.
Yeah. Rackspace is a good example, but they're like removing friction. We talked about, there's some really simple keys, I think, to creating a great loyalty loop. Attaching a person to your marketing makes a huge impact. That's another simple thing you can do. A lot of, even just when it comes to email, a lot of people still send out, especially newsletters that are like newsletter at, mycompany.com or information, or my favorite is do not reply at, like the whole point of email is getting people into a conversation and replying. Like, why would you have an email address and send it to my inbox as do not reply? So, attaching a person, obviously for you, that's you. Jürgen Strauss is the talent, and people build a relationship with you and then build a relationship with the business. But there are a lot of companies that have done an amazing job of attaching one person to the brand that humanizes the brand in a social world. And that experience of having that human touch makes a big difference. I just recently did a loyalty loop episode about T-Mobile, which is a U.S. mobile phone carrier. And they have their CEO does an amazing job of connecting with consumers. If you don't know about him, anyone should check him out anywhere in the world. If you want to see a great example of a social CEO, John Legere is his name. It's worth looking at what he does on Instagram, Facebook. He does Slow Cooker Sundays on Facebook. He has 2.3 million people tuning every week to watch him make something in his slow cooker.
I saw the video. So that's the June 28th loyalty loop.
Yeah, that's right.
quite amazing. Yeah, 2 million. That's incredible.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Every Sunday, it's just nuts. And he's a little bit of a wacky guy. And if you can see through the wackiness to understand kind of the way he connects, I think he's really good at it.
Yeah, there's a great example here, and you may not know this because it's local in Australia. There's a bakery chain called the Beechworth Bakery, and the guy who founded it is a baker, but he's turned it into a really successful enterprise that has about 7 or 8. I think that they're expanding at the moment. They might have 8 localities, and he's a real character, and he goes on these adventures with 1920s A model Fords. He's just done a fundraising trip right across Australia, and he used social media really well to kind of post his progress. And they had all kinds of things happen to them on the way. So he's posting every day, and he was doing the fundraising. But he's actually not active in that business anymore, but of course he's attached to it because he's such a character. And the brand, like, it's a very personal brand because Tom O'Toole is attached to it.
What's his name? Tom O'Toole?
Tom O'Toole, yeah.
That's great. I'm just looking at it now. Those Model T Fords or whatever, those are awesome. Yeah. That's a great example. And I mean, I think people always think of this as being a liability, attaching a talent to your business. And even like you said, Tom O'Toole is not involved in the day-to-day business anymore, but he's such an integral part of the brand. And yes, it can be a liability, but at the end of the day, if it works, it works. And in the social driven marketplace, having someone like Tom O'Toole, being there is perfect. And look at that, the Tour de Tom, is that what they call it?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love Tom O'Toole already. I don't need to read anymore or know anymore. I know that he's exactly what you're talking about. Attaching talent to the brand is exactly right, and he's got it down. So everybody else should check it out if you haven't seen it. I'm gonna dive some deeper, but grit, guts, and as real as it gets. That's what his tagline is. I love that.
Yeah, that's right.
That's awesome. Talented guy.
Yeah. So what's on the horizon for you next then, Andrew?
Well, so I'm working on the Loyalty Loop book, and I hope to have that out in the spring of next year, 2019. So that'll be fun. I mean, the fall in the U.S. is a very busy speaking season for me. So essentially, basically from September, October, and November, I'm on the road a lot and get to travel and meet a lot of people and present at a lot of conferences. So that'll be fun. And then I'll try to finish the book in November and December, and then it starts up again January, February, March. The speaking season kicks up again, and but hopefully I'll be down under. Maybe I'll be in Australia in the fall or the spring, and get to see you and meet you in person, which would be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I've been to Australia a bunch of times. Yeah, okay. In fact, one of our clients was Breville when we were running.
Yeah.
So, and Breville's no bigger anywhere else in the world than it is in Australia. It's the big, it's for, so I got to spend a lot of time in Sydney and work with the Breville folks, which was awesome. So, so the book is going to be my focus for sure for the next few months. And then I'm going to continue with the Loyalty Loop episodes. I just started doing an Instagram show that I've also been posting on LinkedIn called Unsolicited Advice, which is just marketing advice for people who didn't ask for it every week. And it's kind of my opportunity to vent to people about bad experiences. So that's been really fun. And I think that's it. Those are kind of the big focuses for me.
Yeah, I'll have to check out that Unsolicited Advice. I didn't come across those in my research. So.
They're just well, you're very research intensive, and I do appreciate that. But it's very new, and it's the kind of thing that I kind of soft launch. If it doesn't work, I wouldn't have told you about it. so right now, it'll be episode number 2 this week. So you're not missing anything. I'll send you a link, and then you can tell me what you think. Give me your honest feedback.
Fantastic. All right. Well, this is fantastic. I'm really enjoying this, but I'm respectful of your time. So I think it's time we moved on to the Buzz, which is our innovation round. It's designed to help our audience. And, they're primarily innovators and leaders in their field, and I'm sure they can benefit from advice on creating unique customer experience based on your experience. So I've got 5 questions that hopefully you'll give us some insightful answers that will inspire people to go and do something awesome.
Well, let's give it a shot. I hope so.
Yeah. So what's the number one thing anyone needs to do to be more innovative?
I think read books, especially books that are outside of your industry, outside of your passion. Basically, make yourself uncomfortable with the kind of information you're consuming. That could even be go to a conference that has nothing to do with what you do. So, if you're an expert in medical device manufacturing, I really challenge you to go to a printing conference or something, because I think when you do that, you get to see and experience these things with your lens on. You look at it with completely new, fresh ideas and eyes, and you'll be surprised at the kind of ideas you walk away with when you just make yourself a little bit uncomfortable with the kind of information and events you're consuming.
That's great advice. That's a really good way to be innovative, is to look outside your own space.
Yeah, and I think some of the most innovative people I know are the people who are willing to really to not even bring a friend, travel halfway across the world and go to an event that they have no business being at, so that when people say, "What do you do?" and they say, I'm in XYZ, they go, "Why are you here?" That is the kind of event you want to go to really find new opportunities to innovate.
All right. That's a really interesting approach, and certainly, I mean, it's easy to read some stuff outside your field, but yeah, getting uncomfortable and putting yourself in that situation is certainly gives you new experiences that you wouldn't otherwise have. Yeah,
for sure.
So what's the best thing you've done to develop new ideas or new products?
I think talking to others, that doesn't just mean the potential customers and prospects you're going after, but having as many face-to-face conversations with people who can offer advice and insight, even though they don't know they're doing it. So it's very different when you call someone and you're trying to innovate and build a new product, and you say, "Hey, I have a new product in the works. I want to give some feedback." That's not the kind of conversation I'm talking about. I'm talking about conversations where you just call up or just sit down for coffee with someone who might use your product and talk to them about what they do, what they love about what they do, what they hate about their do, with no hope of ever trying to tie it to your product or service, but realizing by the end that you've learned so much about what will make your product or service more successful. So, try to have as many conversations with those kinds of people as you can, but don't let it be consumed by your perspective of what their product is. Just try to get a much bigger view and try to really have empathy for the customer and client you're trying to go after at a deep level.
Yeah. I like what you said at the end there, because I was just going to point out that it's kind of fundamentals of marketing that most people don't seem to apply in marketing today, and that's really understanding who it might be your ideal customer, and really understanding them and developing empathy for them and what they might need and where you might be able to help.
That's so true. Like, I'm talking deep empathy. Like, what do they want to do with their life? That kind of empathy. Because when you really understand, that a guy in charge of manufacturing at a small manufacturing company, his dream is to become the head of manufacturing at a huge manufacturing company, all of a sudden you can sell and market your products to that person in a very different way. You can help them achieve their dreams instead of being so focused on just trying to get them to buy a conveyor belt, thing. And those are the kinds of things where you make a big impact. You'll build a lifelong relationship with that person because you're helping them and you really understand them at a deep level. So have those conversations, meaningful ones.
Yeah, and there's that word relationship again. I was just going to say somebody that then follows that path and you've built that relationship, they're going to be a client when they get to the big company. And
exactly. Exactly. Having a long-term view like that will make all the difference in building a real business and a pipeline that lasts instead of a pipeline that you churn through every 45 days.
All right. Do you have a favorite tool or system for improving your productivity and allowing you to be more innovative? and maybe it's the phone.
I'm a big fan of the phone, but there's a trend I realize now that I'm going through these, but I think I find sketching, so I have a little notebook. In fact, I'm sitting in front of it right now. It's on my desk. You can hear it here. And it fits in between my laptop and the edge of the desk. And I do a lot of sketching and writing, especially when I have ideas. And, I've tried lots of digital tools to kind of capture my to-do lists and to capture, my thoughts. And I used Evernote, and I've used hundreds of tools and tried to do this, but nothing for me has compared to being able to write things down on a piece of paper, sketch when I want, immediately, if I read an email and it sparks an idea, I don't want to open Evernote, then type it in or record an audio thing. And sometimes I forget to read those. I have a place where I put all my ideas and those and even my to-do list, and that makes me very productive because I don't spend a lot of time looking for things. So I'd say get out a notebook. I bought myself a nice pen so that I always am worried about losing it. And it's really nice to be able to, have one place where you've put everything that you find valuable. So I would say, find a sketchbook or a little book you can write in.
Yeah, that's great. I enjoy sketching too and writing, and I've done the same as you. I've explored all these digital tools where you can do that, and in the end, I've got whiteboards on my wall here, and I love drawing on those. And I've bought actually a whiteboard book, so it's an A4.
Oh, no way!
Where you can do it's basically whiteboard pens. You use whiteboard markers, and then I can sketch on, rub it out, make it look neat. And what I then do is I photograph it.
So cool.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
And then that's my way to digitize it. And then I've got it with me all the time. Yeah.
That's a really good idea. I'm going to see, what I'm writing down on my notebook right now? Look, I'm writing down whiteboard notebook. Yes. And it's got a little check mark from it. And I usually then will schedule these kinds of things for research on Saturday, like early Saturday morning. I do all my fun research.
Okay. All right, great. So what's the best way to keep a project or a client on track?
This is the pick up the phone one.
Yeah, okay.
Picking up the phone or having face-to-face meetings, I think, is the best thing possible, especially if a client is going off the rails, literally or figuratively. Getting on a plane even is worth it, especially, if the client's big enough or the customer is big enough. And I think we rely too heavily on digital conversations. We use Slack at our company, and I've tried lots of other asynchronous and synchronous conversation tools, and they're all great. But at some point, just picking up the phone, even to just check in on someone, even if there's not a problem, can mean a whole lot. If I can just can I tell you a quick story, Jürgen?
Sure.
Are we running out of time? So I have a client of ours, a marketing client of ours from years ago, just recently reached out to tell me that they'd had a very successful email campaign. And, that kind of thing always intrigues me. So I picked up the phone and I called this CMO of this company. By the way, they sell very expensive medical devices. Like the starting price is like $150,000 US. So it's not cheap stuff they sell. And I said, look, you got to tell me what was so successful. Like, what did you do? How did it work so well? And she said, okay, let me explain. What we did was we had just moved to a new email system. And the person in marketing that was in charge of setting up the new email system had created a test email where the body of the email was just, first name. So it was the thing for where it would insert Jürgen as the first name. It was the tag for that, comma. And then on the next line, it said, hey, I just wanted to check in with you. Hope you're doing okay, question mark. And then it would insert the sales rep's first and last name. That was the whole test email. And it was supposed to go to no one. It was just a placeholder. Well, the next morning at 5 a.m., it accidentally ran the entire customer list through this thing. So every sales rep had their clients get this email. Now, what's amazing is all these clients and prospects and customers started responding. And when I say responding, not responding with like, hey, things are going great. They got the most emotional responses. Like one woman wrote like 3 paragraphs about how it was so nice that somebody just decided to check in on them. She's had such a rough week and her mom was ill. And, these were gushing, relationship-driven emails. And it all started because all they did was check in, quote unquote. It was just it was an accident that turned into a revolutionary marketing campaign for them that they've now implemented over and over again strategically to have better relationships. So just before things become a problem, pick up the phone or just check in with your client on a regular basis to ask how they're doing and if you can help with anything. It'll make a big difference in keeping your projects on track.
Great advice. Yeah, I love that experiment.
Isn't that funny?
It's kind of accident experiment, but
those are the best.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So like within a few weeks, it's a slow sales cycle, but within a few weeks, a lot of these dead prospects that most of the sales reps had just written off as never going to get back to us were once again hot leads who are now interested in talking about their product. So, you never know the kind of impact you can have by just lending an ear to someone who wants to talk and update you with something they didn't think was relevant, but all of a sudden is.
Yeah. All right, great advice. And what's the number one thing anyone could do to differentiate themselves?
My advice for this is always to accentuate the things that others criticize. So, when I was a kid, everybody said, Andrew, look, you're too loud, you're too boisterous, you jump around in your seat all the time, you need to calm down, and yes, you're funny, but there's a time to be funny. A lot of this advice was right at the time, but I think the things that have made me successful in my career have been my ability to creatively think, to move very fast, sometimes faster than other people. To certainly speak in front of an audience is definitely a skill that I never realized would be so successful. So, if other people are telling you that, hey, you've got too many ideas, well, don't stop having ideas. That's what makes you valuable, and don't get down about it. In fact, embrace it and accentuate those things. Tell people, hey, I have a lot of ideas. I'm going to pitch you a ton of ideas. They call me the idea person. So, that's what makes me unique, and that's what makes me valuable. So, I want you to dig deep and really make a list of all the things that people have criticized you for, and circle the ones that you love about yourself and can't stand when people squash those items. And those are the things you should accentuate everywhere.
Yeah, that's a really novel way to tackle things, and it kind of comes back to what a lot of guests say at this point is, be yourself, but you've really outlined, how you can be yourself in an authentic way, but at the same time highlighting where you are different.
Yeah, there's a lot of generic be yourself advice, and I've always thought that it sounds so easy to be yourself, but I think when you're searching for yourself, it's hard to figure out what are the things to accentuate, with most, so like, for example, a friend, I've hired 2 people in my career that never went to college. One of them didn't even graduate from high school, by the way. And those 2 people, actually 3, I forgot about a third one, never graduated from college. Those 3 people turned out to be the smartest, hardest working people in my entire career. And what I realized very quickly was they couldn't follow the same path that everybody else followed, that it was just never going to work for them. One had ADD, and could not pay attention to something for very long, but it made them an unbelievably fast web developer. It did not make them a very good quality assurance person, but it made them an unbelievably fast web developer who could solve problems like this, Another kid, Mark Held, never graduated from college, but sold a business to PepsiCo for millions and millions of dollars before he, even went to college. And all of these people had very unique skills that aren't traditional skills, and they were definitely the ones that were quashed by others. So make sure you accentuate the things that people have told you you can't accentuate and you shouldn't. Those are the things that make you unique. And there is a whole team of people that will embrace those things and be your tribe and your companions on your journey to success, no matter what it is.
Yeah, that's great advice. Well, thank you, Andrew. This has been really great. So where can people reach out and say thank you?
Oh, that's so nice. You can find me on Instagram. I'm at Drew Davis here if you're on Instagram. If you're not on Instagram, you can find me on Twitter at Drew Davis here as well. And happy to chat there. My website is akadrewdavis.com, and you can find me on YouTube with the Loyalty Loop videos. Just search Loyalty Loop or Andrew Davis or Drew Davis or that guy. That guy won't work. But but I'd love to see you in any of those places. And you can anytime reach out from anywhere in the world. I'd love to chat.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and we'll have links to those places in the show notes for the episode.
Awesome.
So what's the number one piece of advice you'd give to any business owner who wants to be a leader in their field and in innovation?
I think the one piece of advice I would give to anyone who wants to be a leader in their field is to actually publish what you think. Write it down, put it somewhere, create a video, post it on LinkedIn, create a blog. It doesn't matter where you put it, but I think if you start sharing your perspective on your industry, your experience, your vision for the future, you'll find that even the people who don't like it will start to see you as a leader in the industry, as someone who matters and is making a difference and has a perspective that's worth hearing.
Great advice. So get out there and publish your views. Yeah. Don't worry about, like, people overthink it, and I think that's part of the problem. The faster you kind of publish what you're thinking, the more feedback you get faster from not just the people that you want to look at as peers or visionaries in the industry, but you'll also start hearing from the customers and clients you're serving, and those kinds of things can lead to a better product, a better business, and a better overall experience. So yeah, publish now. Don't wait. I don't know what you're waiting for. Yeah. Okay. Great advice. All right. So finally, Andrew, who would you like me to interview on a future InnovaBuzz podcast, and why?
I was just thinking about this. I think you should interview Carla Johnson. Carla Johnson is a really talented kind of innovation expert. She has a concept she calls the oh Lord, it just went out of my mind. Hold on. The Innovation Factory. And she has a whole amazing process. She's studied hundreds of people who are considered unbelievably innovative and tried to break down their process for, their innovations. And she calls it the Innovation Factory. And it's really, really fascinating. I've seen her speak a number of times. She's based in Denver, Colorado, and she's teaching in Spain this year. She's someone who you'll find unbelievably fascinating and interesting.
All right. I think I've come across Carla somewhere. The name rings a bell, but we'll explore that some more.
She's always on those lists of like top 100 marketing influencers in the world. She's very, very popular and really, really smart. And yeah, she's worth chatting with.
Okay. All right. Well, Carla will reach out to you courtesy of Andrew Davis and get you on the InnovaBuzz podcast.
Yay.
All right. So thanks, Andrew, for sharing your time and insights with us so generously today. It's been fun, very entertaining and very educational. A lot of great advice there as well. So I've enjoyed this immensely and learned a lot. So all the best.
Thanks. Me too. Yeah. This has been fun.
All the best for the future, and let's keep in touch.
Yeah, of course. I'll see you in Australia.
Yeah, look forward to that. We'll have a beer or whatever.
You got it too. Yeah. They're on me.
Okay.
Thanks, Jürgen.
Thanks, Andrew.
Well, that was certainly very entertaining and educational, with a lot of valuable advice on building customer loyalty and doing marketing with unique customer experiences. All the ideas and tips that Andrew shared with us can be found at innovabiz.co/Andrew Davis. That is ANDREWDAVIS. All lowercase, all one word, innovabiz.co/Andrew Davis. You'll also find contact information for getting in touch with Andrew there, as well as links to the Loyalty Loop YouTube channel. Andrew suggested I interview Carla Johnson, an innovative marketer, author and storyteller from Type A Communications, on a future InnovaBuzz podcast. So Carla, keep an eye on your inbox for an invitation from us to the InnovaBuzz podcast, courtesy of Andrew Davis. Stay connected. head on over to iTunes or Stitcher or Pocket Casts and subscribe to the InnovaBuzz podcast so you make sure you'll never miss another episode. We'd also love you to leave us a review because what you think matters. Take some of the ideas you've heard today and apply them in your business. Any thoughts, ideas, suggestions or questions, share them in the comments below the blog post. And remember, if you want to get better marketing results than you ever have, join our fantastic LinkedIn community at the Transformational Marketing Academy. All you have to do is go to innovabiz.co/TMAC. It's free to join. Hope to see you there soon. Until next time, I'm Jürgen Strauss from InnovaBiz. Remember to be awesome and keep innovating.